Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Gray in Between. I'm your host, Lola. We're here to dive into the stories that live in the shades of gray. We're here to explore the fascinating tales from Reddit and beyond, where life's complexities come to life in a world where not everything is black and white. We're here to navigate the in-betweens, offering a fresh perspective, a little advice, and a lot of heart. So sit back, relax, and let's journey through the gray together. My cousins destroyed my life. I want to start by saying I know I have the worst luck when it comes to men, but my cousins just take the cake. On my mom's side, I, 38 female, have 6 cousins. Let's call them A, B, C, D, E, and F. All girls and around the same age. We grew up in the same neighborhood and some of us went to the same school. Even as teenagers, my cousins were always interested in stealing each other's boyfriends. It felt like shit when they did it to me in high school, and it felt a lot worse years later. That is very, very weird. That is not like normal cousin behavior at all. I think the people that like cousins are typically into makes you want to gag. Like you would never want to, well, that's just me personally, maybe because I'm like super close to my cousins. Anyone that they would be interested in, I'd be like, oh, no way. And vice versa. At 22, I met my first husband, Ted, who was 43 at the time. Things moved fast and we got married about a year later. On my 24th birthday, I got the most amazing surprise of finding my husband in bed with my slut of a cousin, A. He apologized and we even tried couples counseling to move on from the incident. I had decided to forgive him just before I found cousin B choking on his balls in my kitchen. Oh my God. Wow, this is really fudged up. I divorced Ted and chalked into getting married to a guy without knowing him. At 27, I met Pete, who was 37 at the time. I know, I have a type. I took things slow and got to know him the best I could. We dated 3 years before we decided to marry. Everything was fine until the wedding day when my sister came crying to me and told me how Pete had tried to kiss her the previous night. I thought it was a misunderstanding and immediately went to Pete's hotel room to talk about it and clear things up. That's when I saw cousin C and cousin D pleasuring the groom while my best friend and maid of honor was entertaining the other groomsmen. Wow, no offense. I'm so sorry. Your family sucks. Literally. Bad joke. I cut off contact with everyone except my sister and mother. I decided to be celibate for a few years, and when I got back to being with other people, I just wanted sex, no relationship. At 35, I met Andy, who was 28 at the time. Andy had just gotten out of a long relationship as his ex had dumped him for a rich guy. He also didn't want any relationship, which brought us together. After a whole year of just doing it casually, we developed feelings for each other. Duh. Andy never hid anything from me, told me about all of his past relationship, and as far as I could tell, he didn't lie. A month ago, I found out I was pregnant. When I shared the news with Andy, he was very excited and we decided to keep the baby. He proposed to me last week and I said yes, hoping this time I would get my happy ending. When I informed my mother, she decided to throw me and Andy an engagement party without really asking us about the guests we wanted to invite. She invited the entire family, including all of my cousins. Andy knew what they had done, but asked me to put on a happy face for the sake of my mother. Did your mom not know this was happening? My mom would, if your mom didn't know, then I get it. But if she did know, which I'm pretty certain she does because why else would you get divorced? She would know about it. That's so stupid that she would invite them. It was difficult, but then cousin E walked in and Andy just lost his cool. Oh no, I just read the next sentence. E was the girlfriend who dumped him for the rich guy and she took the opportunity to remind me that I was still eating her scraps. Andy yelled at E for talking to me that way and she made it a yelling match. Things hadn't even settled down before cousin F accused Andy of being the baby daddy of her oldest child, 12 male. He's 28, then he would have been 16. You were okay. This broke and I just bolted. Andy came after me. I locked him out of our apartment, told him to go away and give me some room, but he didn't. He slept on the doorstep the whole night. I keep thinking to myself, at least he didn't cheat. Yes, he didn't cheat, but why did he have to sleep with my slutty cousins? He told me all about his relationship with E, but I never made the connection that it was the same E. And F, oh my God, he must have slept with her when he was 18 and she would have been 32 at the time. F is the neighborhood whore. Every guy in her block has slept with her. I'm surprised she even remembers Andy and is confident about Andy being the father. Can I blame him for sleeping with someone when he was 18? I slept with guys when I was 18 and I don't remember most of them. Somehow I'm mad at him and I also understand what happened. He hasn't actually said he is sorry, but for some reason I keep thinking, I forgive you. I have the worst life. Just on that last sentence because you said it, what does he have to be sorry for? If anything happens prior to meeting you, then it doesn't count. Whatever you did in your life before you meet me, it's not relevant to me. If you do it while we're together, then you have to apologize. Secondly, oh my God, where the hell do you live? Do you live in like one of those weird ass towns where there's like 10 people, 50 people? I would have like moved cities, moved states, get away from them. Why are you guys all so physically close to each other? You need a fresh start sometimes. One of the top comments says, this sounds like a Jerry Springer fan fiction. My 2 cents. You're going through a lot and I can sympathize with you because that sucks 1000%. But at least like I'm glad you still have Andy and like this is not like a very sad ending. Andy hasn't done anything for you to justify the way you were treating him. He was seduced by a woman who was almost twice his age when he was barely just an adult. Then he had a woman betray him and destroy the relationship. And those people just happened to be your cousins. Now he has found a woman that he wants to spend the rest of his life with and raise children with. You're also pregnant, but yet she is locking him out of her apartment despite knowing he did nothing wrong. And puppies, don't yell at me, guys. If anyone needs to apologize between the two of you, it's you. You're just really genuinely treating him badly. And I know this is like a sore subject for you. I get it. Like, what a small world. Why did it have to be your cousins? But it's not anything that happened prior. I really do hope you two can work it out though. But you can't punish him for the actions of others. My best friend kissed my husband and it's destroying me. I, 28 female, have been with my husband, 27 male, for 6 years, married for 4, and we have 2 kids, 3 and 1. Everything in our relationship is perfect for us. He's the best husband and father to our kids that I could have asked for. I am absolutely in love with him, and his actions and words have always shown me that he feels the same way. There's no better feeling than going to sleep in his arms every night. Last weekend, my husband and I had some friends over and we were having a barbecue. We were all outside in the backyard, surrounding my husband who was on the grill. As the food got closer to being ready to eat, we all started sitting in our backyard table. Once the food was all ready at the table, my husband went inside to use the washroom and get another case of beer. I didn't realize that my best friend, 28 female, had followed him. When he was coming back out, my best friend hid behind the wall, separating our kitchen and living room, and surprised him by pulling and forcing a kiss. My husband immediately pushed her back and yelled, "What the fuck?" She immediately started crying and ran out of the house and left. My husband came back into the backyard and asked to speak to me privately and immediately told me what had happened. I was shocked and told him that it would be okay and that we could talk after everyone left. I managed to put on an appearance for the next couple of hours, but I was mentally distraught. After everyone left, my husband sat me down and told me what happened and showed me the footage from our living room camera. It was exactly as my husband had described it. My best friend of 10 years, the person who I treated as my literal sister, forcibly kissed my husband. After the 3rd date with my husband, she was the one I told that I was going to marry him. She knows how much I love him and how strong our relationship is, and still chose to try to come in the middle. For fuck's sake, our 3-year-old calls her auntie. My best friend tried showing up the next day just to talk, and my husband had to hold me back from beating the shit out of her, and he kicked her out and told her not to come back. It's been almost a week now and I'm nowhere close to moving on. I don't blame my husband one bit. He's completely innocent in this, and if anything, he's the victim. I've been lying down on my husband's chest and just crying every day and night. I'm so angry and frustrated and don't know what to do. My husband has been amazing, and like always, he just gets it and understands how I'm feeling. He brought me flowers almost every day and cooked my favorite meals multiple times in the last few days. I love and appreciate him all the more for it. I just don't know how I'm going to move on and trust any of my friends again after this. Sad. That's fudge. I really want to know why she did it or what her reason would be. She does have an update, and I saw the word affair in there because I just looked at it and now I'm really curious. I really just thought innocent husband, bad best friend, but something didn't make sense. I'm dumb. Why? I don't know why I didn't connect the dots. Like maybe they were sleeping together and that's why she felt the need to jump him or whatever. And he was just trying to find an out, but we'll see. After reading a lot of the comments, I realized that it was possible that my husband was having an affair with my best friend and he knew about the camera and acted accordingly to make sure I didn't suspect an affair. Her running out of the house crying, my husband showing me the footage before I asked, and his love bombing would all make sense if he was cheating with my best friend. I can't be with the cheater, and I had to make sure my husband was loyal to me. On a side note, I made sure that my husband was okay and well after being forcibly kissed, and he said that he was fine and he didn't feel assaulted and it was just a kiss. He said that he was just worried about me because he knew how much this friendship meant to me. Oh my God, guys, before we read it, do we think it was a cheater? Do we think it is? I don't know, something's telling me it is because I've heard of best friend stuff, cheating on you, but I don't know, please be wrong. Over the weekend, I looked through my husband's phone and laptop while he was doing yard work. Both of us have full access on each other's phones, and I didn't find anything out of the ordinary in my husband's phone. I checked his messages, WhatsApp, social media, and deleted messages folder. There was nothing suspicious on his phone or laptop. This morning, after my husband left to go to work, I arranged for our next door neighbors, a friendly elderly couple, to watch the girls for a couple of hours, and I went to my best friend's place without telling her I was coming. She works afternoon shifts, so I knew she would be there in the morning. She let me in and seemed scared, and I demanded to know the truth. She said that she had always been really attracted to my husband, and she had tried making advances before, but my husband had always shut her down. She admitted to being jealous of me and my perfect life with my husband. I should have seen the signs earlier. When our firstborn was learning to speak, my best friend would always try to get her to call her Mama. When she held our daughter for the first time, she accidentally sat in my husband's lap. Oh, weird. She's been trying to replace me for years, and I never noticed, and my husband kept rejecting her advances because he only wanted me. Can I just say, I'm so happy this is not a cheater husband story because I hear those all the time and I'm sick and tired of them. So thank God we have there's loyal men out there, women. They're there. Evidence. Proof in the pudding. She said that she had drank more than she should have at the barbecue, and she decided to try her luck when she saw my husband was going inside alone. I forced her to show her phone as well, and again, there was nothing implying an affair, and all of the messages appeared to line up with my husband's phone, so I knew there was nothing deleted or manipulated. She apologized profusely and asked me not to end our friendship over this. I told her that she is nothing to me, and she could have been happy for me, and I treated her like a sister all these years just for her to try and steal my life. Now I know for sure that my husband never cheated. The guilt of doubting him is eating me up. If I tell him that I snooped through his phone and laptop and met up with my ex-best friend to verify that he wasn't cheating, it's going to impact our marriage and he'll be very disappointed in me for not trusting him. And if anything, he will lose his trust in me. If I don't tell him, the guilt is going to continue eating me up. I've never lied or kept secrets from him before, and I don't want to start now, but this is an impossible choice. He's only ever shown me how much he loves and cherishes me, and he doesn't deserve to be betrayed like this. I will update more when I tell him the truth. I told my husband everything, that I looked through his phone and laptop, and that I confronted my ex-best friend. I showed him both Reddit posts and told him that even the few comments that speculated that he was having an affair made me paranoid, and I acted on it. I apologized to him for doubting him and thanked him for always being an amazing husband and always turning down her advances and for spoiling me, especially when I was down. He said that he understands and he should have told me earlier about her trying her luck. I'm also starting therapy next week to figure out my paranoia and trust issues, process the end of my friendship, and in general try to get into a better mental space so I can be better as an individual, wife, and mother. I'm sorry, I doubted you a little bit because when I read it, I'm like, the comments like kind of threw me off too, and I was like, oh my god, maybe he did cheat. But I love that you have a perfect man in your life and you continue to have that perfect man in your life. Cope with the loss of your friend, because that definitely does suck. When you truly see someone as family like that and they betray you in such a dramatic way, that hurts. That does take processing and healing, and I'm glad you're going to therapy. But F that girl, that's so effed up. Can't trust nobody in this world, not even your best friend, not even your husband. I mean, in this case, you could trust your husband, but you know what I mean. Am I wrong for calling my sister cruel for her tattoo idea? Depends what it is. Let's see what if it's really cruel. This is 28 and I'm 26 male. My sister N has always had a strained relationship with our parents, especially my mom. I'm clearly not privy to the reasons because things are fine with me and my parents. When N went to college, she met her creative writing professor as a freshman and they got close immediately. They would do a lot together and work closely on a few different writing projects. N never specifically said this, but it was obvious to anyone who saw them interact that they had a substitute mother/daughter type relationship, which hurt my mom a lot to see. I always thought that she'd grow out of it or that the professor would move on, but 10 years later, they are still very close. About a month ago, the professor died unexpectedly and it devastated N. She was really depressed over the holidays, which of course was all in front of my mom, and it was a difficult reminder that N loved the professor as a mother way more than she ever loved my mom as a mother. She still talks to my parents about stuff and they don't fight or anything, but N is very distant and doesn't tell them anything about her life beyond the bare minimum. My mom tried to comfort N, but N was doing her distant thing and didn't want comfort. Something unfortunate that happened to N is that when she got the call that she died, she was brewing tea, and in the shock of the news, she spilled boiling water on her arm, which burned her kind of badly on her wrist. I think the burn was like on the borderline of 2nd and 3rd degree and definitely still looked pretty rough during the holidays. N said it was especially hard because in addition to the physical pain, every time she looks at it, she is reminded of the moment she found out the professor died, which I totally get. I was on FaceTime with N and she said she talked to her tattoo artist friend who said that the burn should be able to heal well enough to get a tattoo over it. N then excitedly told me about her idea, which is a type of flower that the professor gave her a bouquet of for her undergrad graduation. My mom was so embarrassed that day because she didn't get N flowers, but the professor did, and N was parading them around so happy, and it was a reminder of their connection. I guess N and the professor exchanged these flowers for every special occasion like birthdays. So now she wants to get a decent sized tattoo in a highly visible spot of something that will remind everyone of the professor. I told N that this seemed really cruel to my mom, who already feels cast aside and like she's in exile from N. And that's without the constant permanent reminder. N kind of scoffed and said, I can't believe you think you have the right to tell me not to do this. Called me an ass and hung up and is still not talking to me except for a very brief text message saying congrats for a promotion I just got. My parents aren't commenting. My dad said I should have just kept quiet even though he agrees, and my mom made no comment but seemed grateful I stood up for her. I feel like I was just being protective of my mom. But am I the asshole? Yeah, 1000%. Let me tell you why. I'm going to say 1000% you're the asshole because I get that you're trying to protect your mom's feelings, but this isn't about her. It's about your sister's grief and her way of coping with the loss of someone who was clearly important to her. The professor meant a lot to N. It's not your place to tell her how she should process her emotions or memorialize someone she loved. She literally said, your mom came empty-handed to her graduation. That's all I needed to hear when her professor brought her flowers. How do you come empty-handed? No flowers for your own daughter's graduation. What can you say to validate that? That's horrible. Of course she picked the professor more because how do you not bring flowers to your daughter's graduation? Like, okay, sure, your mom's hurt feelings over the mother-daughter thing are valid, but that's something your mom and sister need to work through, not you. And by inserting yourself into the situation and telling your sister not to get the tattoo, you dismissed her grief and made it about your mom's feelings instead. And that 1000% was overstepping. Unless she asks you, you don't input. And then also, I don't think at all that the tattoo it's not about rubbing the relationship in anyone's faces. She has a really good meaning behind it. It's your sister's personal way of remembering someone who had a huge impact on her life, her body, her choice, right? And by trying to guilt her out of it, you made things worse. You might think you were protecting your mom, but in the end, you likely just damaged your relationship with your sister for no good reason. If your mom had a problem with it, she should have said it herself. And if your mom is still hurting from this strained relationship, then it's up to her to have a conversation with your sister about it. But trying to police how N grieves, not your call at all. My negligence cost my partner her life, and I'm about to lose everything. This is a content warning. It's going to be talking about violence and death. I, 35 male, have been married to Lisa, 28 female, for 3 years, together for 7. A year ago, I fell deeply in love with Amy, 24 female, and have been planning to end my marriage for her. I know it's terrible and not what my wife deserves, but we were the real thing. 2 weeks ago, she had an allergic reaction when we were getting food after work, but she used her EpiPen and seemed mostly okay afterwards. She usually gets checked at the hospital after a reaction, but I asked if I could take her home and she could get her friend to drive her there because my wife was expecting me back. All I know is that she had a secondary reaction that evening and died. I didn't even find out about it until the following Monday through a work email. It's been eating me up ever since, and I will never forgive myself for not sacrificing an hour of my time to possibly save her. I sent some childish messages to Amy when I didn't hear from her over the weekend because I thought she was angry I didn't take her to the hospital. I'm already so upset over so many things, but we'll wait. My brow though, look at that, mashallah, that arch. I am thankful she never saw them and ashamed that I assumed the worst. Our relationship was great and the highs far outweighed the lows, but I had always hated being ignored and I lose my cool when it happens. It is not a regular occurrence and I would have more than made it up to her. Crazy that you think we're gonna have sympathy for you because you're cheating on your wife, right? Because of you, if you weren't with your wife, if you weren't being a cheating bastard, you wouldn't have had to leave because you're cheating on your wife and she knew you would be cheating on her if you didn't come home on a good time, right? You could have taken this girl to the hospital. If I'm with someone, right, Friday, and you don't find out I'm dead till Monday, did you really care about me? How did you? Because you're too busy with your current life. Because if you weren't cheating and this was the only sole focus of your life was this girl, if she's not responding to you, you would get, what's the word? I can't, it's in Pashto, it's warhatab, English is worried. Gosh, I'm brain farting. You wouldn't be worried. And if that was someone, I would reach out to family, hey, I haven't heard from this person. Are they okay? I need to confirm. I would call the cops. After 24 hours, I'm where are you? So hope the guilt should eat you alive. Yesterday at work, HR and legal were in the CEO's office all day and my manager ended up canceling our project meeting because he was with them all afternoon. I was on edge, but an affair isn't exactly a corporate crisis and I thought something would have already happened if anyone knew. I am now 99% certain it was about me. A few hours ago, I received a message from Amy's phone which said, "This is Amy's brother Tom. I want you to know it was me." I tried to call but it went straight to voicemail and none of the messages have been delivered. I tried to call my manager more times than I should have and he sent a message saying, "Please don't contact me until Monday morning. I can't discuss anything with you right now." So it looks like my universe is going to collapse. I'm going to be fired and my wife will definitely find out why. All I can do is hope that Amy's brother only showed them the messages from that weekend and they were bad enough. I have no family except my wife and daughter and nowhere to go. You should have thought about that before you wanted to get your wee-wee wet, okay? All of my friends are either people I've met through my wife or my colleagues. On Monday, everything I spent over a decade working towards disappears. I can't stop it. I can't talk to anyone about it. So here I am. I know cheaters are the devil, so I'm not expecting sympathy, but this is making my chest hurt and I need to get it out there. Okay, here's an update. I have been consistently harassed for an update since posting, so please take it. Gloat because you're such wonderful people in comparison. Stop following me around Reddit. I'm suffering in the wake of my infidelity and unprofessional behavior as I knew I would. I understand that it is an appropriate outcome and I'm taking full accountability. I was suspended from work on Monday and I'll probably be fired sooner than I thought. I'd hoped to be able to save money as HR built their case, but it looks like Amy's brother basically performed the entire investigation for them. After the excruciating 3-hour run through everything they had, I spoke to the founder and he recommended the solicitor I am now using. The issue is that the company has to come down hard to protect themselves because even though Amy's family doesn't have much chance of a claim, any suggestion of a cover-up could cause damage regardless. The founder still thinks my offer to pay them back will keep it out of court, and some more information has come to light, so it's not certain I won't be prosecuted, but I'm quietly hopeful. I can't afford to keep the solicitor if this goes much further, especially with the divorce on the horizon. Good, your wife knows. Things are not good with my wife. I'm still committed to making this as easy as possible for her, but I had to draw a line when it came to my daughter. When I got home from being unceremoniously escorted out of my office, she already had a bag packed for me. She wouldn't let me wait at the house until my daughter was back. She wouldn't let me check. I had everything I needed. She wouldn't let me take the car, and she didn't care that I had nowhere to go. Spent 2 nights in a hotel and then went back when she refused to let me see my little girl. She tried to stop me, but we owned the house jointly and it was my only option. My wife has family she could stay with, but she won't leave our daughter here and she's absolutely not taking her. So we're at a stalemate right now. I'm keeping out of her way as best as I can, which I appreciate is the least I can do. The Amy situation is quite difficult to talk about and a lot hasn't sunk in yet. It turns out that she didn't love me as much as I loved her, if at all. Her brother sent me images of her talking to her friends about me, and it's hard to believe they came from the person I loved, but they are real. Sorry to those who are heavily invested in me being a predatory abuser, but she and her friends had a good laugh about her manipulating me for money and a promotion. The role came with a big pay raise, and it looks like her plan was to treat us free cash, then go work with one of her friends when it fell through. She knew I'd come under scrutiny whenever she messed up and assumed I'd keep stepping in to save her. She was right. I'm sorry, I don't feel bad for you at all. You got. You had a whole ass wife. Good, good for her. Rest in peace. For taking all your money because you deserve that. But what is wrong with you? I cannot feel sympathy for you at all. At all. If you were just a poor innocent man trying to find love, okay, I get it. But you legit just wanted to cheat on your wife. You had a family at home. If you cared that much about your daughter in the first place, like you say you are, you wouldn't have done anything you did. Obviously, I'm completely humiliated. I was planning to give up everything to build a life with her, and she was treating me like a joke the whole time. My feelings are complicated, so please don't feel entitled to any expansion on this, but I no longer feel guilt over her death. Reddit acted like I kept her hostage while she begged for help. What actually happened was that I asked if she could ask her friend to take her to the hospital because I had to go home. She said that was fine because she needed to go get some clothes back from her anyway, and I dropped her off as normal. Ultimately, she was an adult who had a better understanding of her medical needs than I did. I still don't know what happened between us saying goodbye and her death, but whatever it was, it had nothing to do with me. I'm sorry for her family's loss, but I bear no responsibility for her passing. After Amy's message to her friends were passed around, a few people quietly reached out with words of support. I assumed everyone would write me off like Reddit did as an abuser and a predator. Now it's clear that Amy was using me. They see me as a fool who had then lost it all. It's beyond humiliating, but I have learned I'd rather be pitied and despised and improves my legal position with work. There are small mercies, but I'll take what I can get. I remain filled with regret and I have learned many lessons by the time I get through this. I may have been deceived, but I'm a grown man who made my choices and I take full responsibility for them. That was a rough one, but not for me, for him, because that makes me so upset. I can't feel guilt for that. Anyways, let's get on to the last story of today's episode. And unfortunately, I just peeked over and it's another cheater story. So this was sent directly by one of you guys and would like mine as well as your guys' input. So here we go. A year ago, I began a relationship with a married man. I know it sounds bad, but he chased after me for over a year. And before I knew it, I had strong feelings I couldn't avoid. The moment you know this person is married, you have to turn everything off and cut all contact with them. You probably loved that he was chasing you and the attention he gave you, but that doesn't excuse that you knew he was married. He's an don't get me wrong. Guys who do that, trash. Within 3 months of entering the affair, we got caught. And he claimed he was leaving her and just wanted me to give him time. Within the next week or two, he reported me to HR. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention I was his boss. And got me pulled out of service, which eventually led to me being out of work for 2 months, getting demoted, losing pay, stock, and my bonus. And I had to move across the state for the position they offered me, or I could be unemployed. Needless to say, I lost everything. We still stayed together. What? Girl, stand up. What the fudge? We still stayed together. He just reported you. What? What? We still stayed together for months later, long distance, with me doing all the work to see him. But I won't lie, after losing everything I worked my entire life for, I couldn't lose one more thing. Mentally, I couldn't let him go. Until I found out I was pregnant. He was okay for about 2 weeks, then he started saying he wanted to go back and make things right with his wife. I am not over the fact that you still got caught, got demoted from work, whatever it was, and still wanted to be with this man. At this point, I couldn't control my emotions and I told his wife I was pregnant. While he then tried to convince her that there was no baby, which I did not know I probably would have went along with because of how guilty I felt. So she texted me asking me for confirmation, which I gave her, and I told her I wouldn't be a problem and actually begged her to give him another chance because I felt horrible for what I did. Well, he got mad and immediately told me he was done with me and wanted nothing to do with the baby. That I wanted a baby and I got exactly what I wanted. I begged him to talk to me and reminded him that he got me demoted and I never treated him this way. The getting demoted should have been the straw on the camel's back to be like, why am I with this man? Now, a few weeks have passed and I've still tried to get a hold of him and he won't talk to me. And every time I get on the phone, he just yells at me and tells me I got exactly what I wanted. And today I broke down and I was like, look, All I want is for you to be available if our kid ever wants to reach out to you, because I never had a dad growing up and that killed me, and that I couldn't understand why he wasn't around. And he said, no, I don't want anything to do with that child. It's all yours. You got what you wanted with this whole thing. I then said, so if I wanted you involved, would I have to take you to court? And he says, do whatever you want. I told him I didn't want to go through the court and that all I wanted is for him to be there if she ever wanted to call, and he didn't even have to visit her. He didn't have to send money, just a phone call. And he said, why should I believe you? You're a liar anyways. I'm done with you and I don't want anything to do with that kid. All it is a reminder of how much I hate you. And he pursued you. And I know I probably deserved this, but we had a child together. And as much as he hates me, I don't believe he should take it out on the child. Especially when he knew I wasn't on birth control for 6 months. I had been saying he wanted to have a baby with me and even picked out a name. Your question is, am I the asshole? Girl, yes. 1,000%. 1,000,000%. What? Why would you not be? You said you knew he was a married man. You let his wife knew, ex-wife maybe at this point hopefully, that you were pregnant. And like, don't believe men when they tell you, I want to have a baby with you. I want to put a baby in you. They're just heat of the moment. What is wrong with you? Guy, I hate the way he's treating you, but you're letting him treat you that way. Oh my God. And it's like, okay, I'm going to try to be a little less mean now because I got to be the gray in between, that's the whole point of this. Like, let me play devil's advocate in a sense. I can't be too one-sided. You entered into a relationship with a married man. And while the situation is complicated, it is important that we acknowledge that both parties share responsibility. He pursued you for over a year. And while he is married and made vows, you didn't force his hand. He made his own choices. That said, this situation is extremely hard for everyone involved, particularly after you were caught. The fact that he reported you to HR caused you to lose your job, your pay, your home is a massive betrayal, just as much as having an affair. You should have known this guy is an asshole based on the fact that he would be willing to cheat on his wife. He seems to have turned on you very quickly, especially after benefiting from your relationship. That act alone just shows deep lack of integrity and concern for your well-being. So I don't know why you would ever want to be with someone like that. It's very troubling. It's clear you feel like an overwhelming sense of guilt. And like, I know you're owning up to your role in the situation. You do not deserve to be treated cruelly by him. You're taking the burden of the responsibility, and it's commendable that you're focusing on your child's future and welfare. I get that. Guys fall in love with what they see and girls fall in love with what they hear. And he's giving you all these words of affirmation and like all these promises. I want to have a kid. I want to have a kid. And then you finally give him that. And he's like, what the fuck? Seek legal advice, therapy, counseling, and like focus on the child. I know what you said. Like, the child deserves to know both parents, and his refusal to be involved isn't just unfair to you, unfair to the child too. No matter what happens between the adults, the child should not be denied the opportunity to have a relationship with their father. You've tried your best to handle things outside the legal system, but if he refuses to be involved or acknowledge the child, going to court may be necessary, not just for potential child support, but for establishing his responsibility as a father. And I think he's in such an emotional high right now because he's trying his best to push you away and get back with his wife. And when that doesn't work out, or whatever act he's trying to do doesn't work on his wife, I think he'd be more receptive to having a relationship with his child with you. I think that's what it is. Whoa. That was rough. Gosh, I'm done with these cheater stories for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this episode of The Gray in Between. If you have a story that you want to share or a dilemma you'd like me to weigh in on, please don't hesitate to reach out. I love bringing these stories. I love being part of these with you guys, and that you feel comfortable enough to trust me with these and give my input regardless of it being mean or helpful. Remember, life isn't always black and white. There's the beauty in the gray. And until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep exploring the in-betweens. One time for my sweater. Oh, cute.